What's up, everyone? Welcome to the February 25th edition of FanDuel Tournament Plays presented by PrizePicks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, you get one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at PrizePicks. Be sure to use the code Awesemo to receive a 100% first deposit bonus up to $100. Today, we have a 9-game slate, second day back from the All-Star break. A little bit more injury news today, a little bit more news pending, a little bit more news that we've already gotten this afternoon. As always, be sure to tune into the Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock from 5 p.m. Eastern up until tip for more up-to-date information. But for now, taking a relatively early look at 5 of the top tournament options on FanDuel as things currently stand. Coming in at number 5, Anthony Edwards, $7,600 small forward shooting guard on FanDuel, projected for 5% ownership with a 9% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Edwards is coming off of an absolutely awful game where he only scored 5 actual points last night. He saw about a $500 price decrease on FanDuel as well, though. So you're still talking about a player that overall this season, in the games that he has played with Karl Anthony Towns and with D'Angelo Russell available, Edwards has averaged 1.08 FanDuel points per minute. He's also averaged 34.6 minutes per game. If you get 34 to 35 minutes from him at, over a fantasy point per minute, you're talking about a pretty solid projection and a pretty good ceiling for someone at only $7,600 and low ownership. Number 4, Keldon Johnson, $5,900 small forward, power forward, projected for 7% ownership. He has a 10% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Johnson is likely to play into the low to mid 30s tonight against the Washington Wizards. The Spurs are a little bit shorthanded, and it's not names that jump off the page and make you really think, oh, everybody has to play a little bit more. But they're going to be without Josh Richardson, who played about 14 minutes last game. They're going to be without Josh Primo, who played about 12 minutes. They still aren't getting Romeo Langford back. So they're missing a couple of just, fringe rotational pieces that I think make it likely that, maybe Keldon Johnson plays 34 or 35 minutes instead of 32. And he's averaged 0.86 FanDuel points per minute this season. So every additional minute he gets, is pretty useful at this price tag in a favorable matchup against the Washington Wizards. Number 3, CJ McCollum, $8,500, projected for 4% ownership with a 10% chance of being in the optimal lineup. McCollum is shooting guard only on FanDuel, and he has a difficult matchup taking on the Phoenix Suns, who we know are one of the best teams in the NBA, both in terms of their actual team and in terms of their defense. But McCollum has been very good since coming to the Pelicans in a handful of games, and his rates are extremely good in those games. He's averaged 1.24 FanDuel points per minute. He has a 30.9% usage rate. He also has about a 23.5% assist percentage, and he's averaged 36.6 minutes per game. So there's a lot of risk here just because the matchup is difficult, but a lot of that risk is accounted for in the fact that right now McCollum is projected for only 4% ownership. There's plenty of alternatives at his price point, but McCollum has a very high ceiling for someone that is this low owned. Number 2, Patrick Beverley, $5,300 point guard, projected for 9% ownership with an 11% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Beverley has averaged 27.1 minutes per game and 0.99 FanDuel points per minute in the games that he has started with Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell active this season. Tonight, he's facing Philadelphia. I expect him to play around, 27, 28 minutes again. He just looks like a very solid value option on a slate that right now doesn't have a ton of really good value. And number 1, the top tournament option as things currently stand, Scotty Barnes is $5,800 in a great matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. Toronto has a 114 implied total here. Barnes is $5,800, projected for 8% ownership, 11% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He also has small forward and power forward eligibility. Now, OG Anunoby is out for the Raptors tonight. I don't necessarily think that has a huge impact on its own for Scotty Barnes. The reason being that in the games where Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet have been active this year, you're typically talking about Anunoby being around a 20% usage guy, gets some rebounds, but nothing that, doesn't do any one thing particularly well, where I expect Scotty Barnes to step in and pick up the slack. But you certainly could get a couple of extra minutes for Barnes. And even if you don't, this is still a pretty favorable price point and a good matchup against Charlotte. For the season in the games that Barnes has played with Siakam and with VanVleet active, he's averaged 0.89 FanDuel points per minute and 35.4 minutes per game. Now, we have seen his playing time trend down a little bit recently where, he's playing 32 minutes, whereas guys like Gary Trent are playing 38. But maybe you see him get back to 34 or 35 minutes with Anunoby out tonight. One way or the other, I think this is a favorable price tag for him against the Hornets. So to recap, the top 5 tournament options on FanDuel as things currently stand: number 5, Anthony Edwards; number 4, Keldon Johnson; number 3, CJ McCollum; number 2, Patrick Beverley; and number 1, Scotty Barnes.